Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers with the Starter Girls. I am Jennifer Loading.
And I'm Brianna Drelis, and we're talking to the creators, the dreamers, the magic makers, and the achievers.
These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills, photographer of Glad Models Agency. If you are here in the Dallas or surrounding area and looking for some photography work, check out Walt Mills. You can learn more about him and his work at photosbywalt.com. All right, we are super excited. We have a guest on here today, Mark Blomsteel. I'm so excited to have him on here. Finally, we get to get him on and chat about what he has going on. So to our audience, real quick, let me tell you a little bit about him. He was born and raised in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. He was diagnosed with a genetic eye disease at an early age that would leave him legally blind. He started writing music at the age of 11, and by the time he graduated from the university, he had already had his radio show and worked for MTV networks. During the last year of college, he connected with British producer Paul Tubbs Williams, who previously worked with the Spice Girls and Boyzone, invited Mark to the UK after listening to some of his demo recordings. Together, they recorded Leaving It All Behind, a song written by Mark. Brianna's going to love this because she's a musician. Mark worked with Fred Vale, former producer of the legendary Beach Boys, who introduced Mark to a team of the best studio musicians, including band leader Chris, and I'm hopefully not going to butcher this. Is it Lusinger?
Yes, Lusinger, yeah.
Awesome. He played on every Garth Brooks album, which I love Garth Brooks, have several of his CDs in my house, and recently worked again with Mark to record his latest album, On My Way, releasing later this year. Exciting stuff. Dutch boy Mark Blomsteel, a loving nickname by the Nashville locals, has won multiple Dutch CMA awards for Song of the Year twice, Male Vocalist of the Year, Album of the Year, as well as Most Promising Act. He also performed at Europe's biggest country music festival, Zurich, Switzerland. So welcome, Mark. We're so excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So many good things. He sent me his bio, Brianna, and I'm like, let me get all the good stuff. He's got so much stuff. I got to get all the important stuff.
A lot.
So,
that was a lot.
Yeah, you should be like, hey, look at this. This is awesome. You've worked hard.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's been a fun ride so far, but still not where I want to be.
Well, isn't that how it goes, right, in life?
Yes, you always got to, keep dreaming, keep going.
Yeah, I love it. So how long have you been in the States then?
I started recording my first album in 2009, and then I made the move permanent. I think it was, it's 11 years in August.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you in Nashville?
Right now I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
Back to Nashville on Saturday because we're doing some more recordings next week. So that's always exciting.
That is exciting.
I know Brianna's going to, I'm sure, lots of questions for you today because you're just right in her zone. So we love it. We get all kinds of people on here, and it's so fun because, we have our serious entrepreneurs, and we get artists on here, and it's so fun to learn about, their journeys and the struggles that they've gone through and how they've overcome. But I think that the common thread that we find, and we've had people come on and say this, is that everybody really loves what they do. And I think that's what makes us kind of solidified in what we do, is that we have a passion for whatever we're creating, whatever that be, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, that's the most important thing. And that's why I keep doing it, because it's not like I made a couple $1 million and it's on my bank account. And it's all because we love what we're doing, and we make people happy with what we're doing. And that's, for me, is very important, and as soon as you don't get that recognition, then it's time to pack your bags and stop.
Pack it up. So you've been singing for you're writing music at age 11. Tell us a little bit about this, how this all came about for you. Like, did you come out of the womb just like singing and writing music?
Well, my grandmother was in a band, but I didn't know about that. They told me about this later in life, and I just listened to all the records that my parents used to play, and just got into music. And it was, my two passions were soccer and music. So I was always busy with either one of the two. Recording the charts of the radio on this little cassette tapes in the beginning, and then all of a sudden I was like, hey, I want to do this. So I just started writing songs, and didn't know if I was any good. I was singing in the house, and my brother would always tell me to shut up. So I was like, well, maybe I'm not good. So I got kind of a dent in my confidence over there. But when I was 18 years old, I was like, hey, I knew that my next door neighbor had a recording studio in his house. It's like one of those little home studio things. And I just asked him one day, I was like, can I record a song? He's like, sure. And, then it was clear that I was actually talented, because he was like, whoa, this is one of the best things I've ever heard. So that was just a chance thing for me,
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
still tried to go to college first and all that good stuff, because I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm that good. I mean, it was just a confidence thing in the beginning. And I wish I would have, started earlier when it comes to, taking the professional route.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, can I ask you, was it difficult being where you're from? Was it difficult for you, if you were saying that was like a confidence thing there, to
Mhm.
make that move to the United States?
Um, well, it's one of those things where that also happened by chance, because at that time I had my own sports show on a network in the Netherlands, and the owner of the network had some tax problems. So one day we all showed up for work and all the computers were gone.
Oh no.
So
Wow.
it was one of those things where everybody was looking for a job at a different network, and I was like, hey, I just got in touch with Fred Vail at the time, and he's like, I want you to come work with me and see if we can make an album. And I was very hesitant, but when that happened, I was like, you know what, I'm going for it.
I love
That's
it.
great. So are you spending a lot of time gigging right now and like performing live, or are you spending more time doing the songwriting? And I you'll have to clarify for me, like, are you doing a lot of songwriting and then sending your songs to other recording artists, or are you mainly keeping your songs and then doing the artist thing?
Yeah, I'm mainly keeping my songs for myself, and I work with a lot of songwriters out of Nashville that pitch me their stuff as well. So I mean, I'm mainly an artist, and before the pandemic started, we were gigging a lot, and we're actually getting a lot of traction here in the States. And so that pandemic really came at a very difficult time for us, and it was not the right time for sure. And then I was still recording and traveling during it all until I actually got the virus myself in December, and I got it bad. So I actually was hospitalized and had to basically start from scratch learning how to walk again.
Wow.
So I haven't really done any kicking since.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
yeah, it was rough.
Wow. Well, we're so happy that you're okay.
Yeah, I'm actually, there was a lot of issues. My lungs were very bad. I had to was it pneumonia for, yeah, I mean, all that time. And then my heart had some problems because of the virus. And thank God it was fluid by the heart. And then that cleared up. I finally got the okay from the doctor last week that it was all gone. So, yeah, we're happy to be
Yeah.
able to pick up some stuff again and look ahead.
Long road for you for sure.
Yes.
Are there any, I'm not trying to be cliche here, but while you were going through that, are there any new songs that are going to come from that experience?
Oh, I mean, there definitely might be some stuff that, yeah. I mean, it was a very emotional time,
Sure. Yeah.
especially in the hospital, because you're not allowed any visitors at that time, and you're all by yourself. The only people that come in are the nurses and the doctors, and they all wear those suits. It's a very scary ordeal.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, gosh, we're glad you're okay.
Well, thank you.
Well, yeah, and I think you're a survivor anyways, Mark, because I mean, just talking about making a move, from where you are to come here and then pursue your dream, but you also have this, genetic eye disease you were born with too, and you've had to learn to navigate around that. So I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
feel like, yeah,
that
go
was
ahead.
tough, especially in a country like this where you actually need a car.
Yeah.
Because I remember very well when I first came to Nashville, not knowing anybody. My engineer at the studio would always pick me up from my extended stay hotel, and I was staying there for like I think it was 90 days, so it was a long period of time, and I couldn't do anything. I was stuck in that room for a long time. That's where a lot of songs came from as well.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine.
yeah, but I mean, then you start getting to know some people and go to songwriters nights and rounds and stuff like that. So it got a little easier, but still, you're always having to rely on somebody to go somewhere. And back then there was no Uber or anything like that yet. So,
Yeah.
I mean, thank God for that, it's making things a lot easier these days.
I know almost
Sure.
now you could be like, you could really just, if you wanted to be in the city and just not have a car and just, use Uber or Lyft or whatever, you can pretty much get around anywhere
Yep.
these days. But I could see, back in the day, I was talking about that the other day with my kids, because there's so many of these little, jobs like that where they have these app things like that we didn't have growing up. I mean, pet sitting and, just let me call and get a car to come pick me up to take me to the car. No, you better drive your car home and you better not be drunk.
Yeah.
You better
I remember
give you a ride,
it was tough because we didn't have cell phones at the time either.
Right.
So, and I remember my producer, that same guy, Fred Vail, he could be, some kind of a bad word. So I had times where he would just like say, I'll drive you back to your hotel. But at some point he'll just like get a phone call from his wife that she needed him for something. He's like, oh, well, get out of here and call a cab. And I'm like, well, I don't have a phone. Well, that's your problem.
Uh-oh.
So middle of the road somewhere in Nashville, and all I had was my laptop. So thank God for Skype at the time. I found my way to a Wi-Fi place and made a phone call on Skype to see if someone could please help me out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been pretty tough.
Imagine, how did we ever get by in the olden days, right? I remember, I laugh about this all the time. This little car I had when I was in high school, and it was my very first car, and it was a Lemon, and we didn't have phones. We didn't have beepers back then either. Because remember, we went through the stint where we had pagers for a while. We didn't have those. So I just remember breaking down on the side of the highway and having to run on the side of the road to go find a payphone at this mobile home construction site.
Yeah, that's
the things we used to do. And now we would be like, do you want your kids even doing that? No, it's like crazy times for sure, right? Amazing we made it through. But you're definitely a survivor, and I love that you're following you. And you've done some really, awesome things. I didn't even know about this show you were talking about. You had this show, in the Netherlands before you came here. So you've done a lot of impressive.
That was a lot of fun. That was, interviewing all the soccer players after the games and stuff. So went all over the country of Holland, going to all their stadiums and doing all the post-match interviews. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, and then you had a radio show. That was, I guess, is that the same? That was something else, right? Your radio show?
That was something else. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. You've done a lot of cool things and worked with a lot of awesome people. So yes,
for sure. I mean, I'm blessed when it comes to that. And a lot of people were very nice. I mean, you mentioned Chris earlier. I mean, he's, one of the nicest guys I've ever met and one of the greatest guitar players. I mean, he's doing all the stadium tours right now with Garth, and, we're so proud of him, and hoping to see him again next week. Is actually be the first session. He's going to be on my session, but Garth is going to play a show in Alabama, and I need to rehearse for that. So that's my first ever Nashville session without him. So it's going to be interesting for me.
Awesome. And he worked with you on this last album that's coming out, right?
Yeah. He works on every album that I recorded, every song that I recorded on. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been quite the relationship that we build. And, like I said, he's one of the nicest people in the world. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. Brianna, did you have a question? She's studying over there.
We're talking about Chris Jansen, right?
Chris Luginger.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you spell his last name?
Leuzinger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I love that. So I have a good friend in Nashville who is actually from my hometown of Richardson, Texas.
Okay.
But she's a songwriter. She's a singer-songwriter, but her name is Heather Morgan. And Heather writes for a lot of people. So I'm just wondering if you've ever crossed paths with her. And if not, you definitely need to meet her because she is a special woman. But she's part of, she started Girls of Nashville with two other ladies. And then she's definitely part of kind of this like female songwriter crew in Nashville that was kind of 20 years ago, basically getting in with the boys, the Nashville boys, as a woman, so, I mean, kind of, it's changing a lot now, but when she started, she was definitely always the only girl in the room.
Right. There weren't very many, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
So,
I remember myself when I first came to Nashville. I mean, there weren't very many foreigners at all. That's why I got that nickname. And it wasn't very busy at all either. And now it's so crowded. I mean, in the space of 10 years, I mean, that city transformed into like little Los Angeles. It's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
none of the locals really liked going downtown anymore because it's just too crazy.
Yeah. No, I was there for the very first time about 4 years ago. And the Eagles were, the Eagles had a show there. So we wanted to go see the Eagles. We went to the downtown Nashville big place and
Right, the Bridgestone Arena,
yeah,
probably.
Bridgestone Arena. And we had a really nice time, but I felt like I was in Las Vegas,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
It was it was exhausting. Like I couldn't believe I just couldn't it was crazy. It was like really, really insane. So
Yeah.
it
I
wasn't
mean,
exactly what I was expecting. And we had a ball, don't get me wrong, but like I tell people, I'm like, get ready. Like it's
yeah.
Vegas. It's Vegas in Tennessee.
When I first came there, it was not like that at all. You know, you could walk downtown and there was nobody around, especially during the day. And I
Mhm.
mean, at nighttime, it came up, came to life, but nothing like it is now.
I mean,
Nothing.
10 a.m. people are already like partying.
Yeah.
I mean, people are in the
But
streets and partying at 10 a.m. It's insane. Almost like
I
New
mean,
Orleans too.
always hear people going for a weekend to Vegas. Now it's going in for a weekend or bachelorette party to
Yep.
Nashville.
My
Yeah.
daughter just went there not too long ago. I haven't been to Nashville, I feel like, in years. I went there for a leadership conference back with one of the companies that I was working with, but it was many moons ago. But my daughter just went to Nashville to see a concert there. I'm talking probably like in the last couple months. So, yeah.
Well, I heard that Nashville has also taken over the title of Bachelorette capital
Yeah.
of the world. It used to be Vegas, but it's now
Yeah.
Nashville.
Hmm.
That's what everybody, complains about in town.
I bet, especially the people who have been there for so long, and it's just not the same Nashville, right?
No, I mean, it's one of those things like they want to, go with the times, I guess. So it's kind
Sure.
of sad in a way as well because all the old buildings, a lot of studios at Music Row is just, they're getting rid of it almost. They're building condos, hotels, and all the studios are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah,
It's really
it's just
sad.
history that's gone. I mean, and all those, so-called mega stars that are like owning their own bars now downtown on Broadway. That
Yeah,
didn't be like that at all, and they're just taking over.
yeah, I hear you. So
They all
I do have a question. Oh, go ahead.
they all gotta have their little place, I guess, their own bar. The thing.
Yeah. So, okay, you have been at this a long time, and I always so just so you know, I work with independent musicians and artists, all different genres, and I
Mhm.
work with them on their online business strategies. So I kind of am the one that comes in and looks at all their stuff, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna get your marketing, social media, and email marketing, like all those ducks in a row, right?
All right,
But
I'll
one of
give
the
you a call.
things yeah, let's do it. Let's work. So, one of the things I tell them though is like to look at it as a long game. And I know that that's where you're at, right? You're in it. It's not like you're, oh, I'm going to try this for a few years and
Yeah,
no, this is it. Like you're in
yeah.
it for the long
What
game. And
I'm
because of
doing for
that,
a long time, yeah.
yeah, so when because I understand this industry and this is like any industry, when the going gets tough, what has kept you in the game?
Oh gosh, I guess the support system. My parents have been, you know, great supporters for me. Got a great manager right now that's always supporting me, and great band. So that's what keeps me going. But sometimes it's really tough. The music industry. I think, it, it's a big cancer. It really is. I mean, people are rude. They don't call you back. They don't email you back anymore. It's very tough to deal with these people. Um, it's tough to get ahead, but for me, it's always the passion. It's just a passion in me that needs to create, needs to make music, perform for people, make them happy, make them feel something.
Mm.
And And that's really what keeps you going. But I mean, I have it every couple months where I'm like, I'm done.
I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's that tough, and I'm the type of person, I always like, when somebody emails me or messages me, I'd like to respond. And if I do that to someone else, I kind of, want that in return, but that just doesn't happen anymore, it seems. So for me, that's very annoying and frustrating.
Yeah. But it's the passion, right? That's what
Yeah,
keeps you there.
yeah, definitely.
Well, and clearly you
Well,
have a gift. I mean, you're an
yeah,
award-winning artist, songwriter. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
can you tell us a little bit about that?
it's one of those things where in the Netherlands they have the Country Music Association as well. It's not as big as it is over here, of course, but there's some big artists out there for sure. And first, when I moved over here, I would always record my music, take it back to Europe because it was an easier market to get into, I thought. We played Zurich, we played, places like Belgium, England, Germany. So it was a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, I still had to go there every time, and that cost a lot of money. So I was like, well, at some point, I'm focusing on the US market. And that was around 2019 when we really started doing that. So it was right before the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
So we released an album, got some traction, got some first shows, and everything started looking up. And then that hit. And yeah, I mean, we had to start from scratch, basically.
Put you backwards. Got it.
Yeah. All the artists that were booked already at that time, they're automatically putting them in for the next years to come. So it's hard to find a spot at the moment. So
yeah,
and that's also a very frustrating thing for us at the moment. But we keep going and do a lot of fun stuff, keep recording and doing what we got to do. And like I said, I had to get my health back as well. So I'm happy to have my first flight again this Saturday. So I'm excited.
Fun.
Been a while.
Yeah. So Mark, tell us a little bit about this album that's releasing.
Yeah, we're releasing a single first very soon. It's called Tennessee, which is a very exciting thing for me. So I signed with a label called MC1 Nashville, and it's affiliated with Sony and the Orchard, okay. Which of course is one of the biggest distributors in music. So we're working on that, trying to get that released. I mean, and I hate that part of music so much because I love creating and I just want the stuff to be out there. But then you get all these forms and contracts to deal with. I'm like, no thanks. This is not what I know anything about. And then it's like, oh, why don't you let your attorney or your lawyer look at it? And I'm like, yeah, I got one right next to me, Hey,
I've got a really great entertainment lawyer for you if you need one.
Well, there you go. I mean, I'm like, that costs a lot of money. I'm trying to make the money, not spend it.
Sure. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think that's what happens to a lot of us when we enjoy doing whatever the craft is that we're doing. We really don't like to I call it minutia, because I'm like that too. I don't like minutia. I don't like paperwork. I mean, I can do that if I have to, but it's just not not where my gift of want to place my energy into, it's why I got out of accounting.
You want to create, you want to do fun stuff. And I mean, that's the thing why I think a lot of musicians, end up quitting or not making it is because it is very expensive to actually record. And then you have a lot of home studios, but do you want that kind of quality or do you want the real quality? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm very fortunate to be able to have the recordings that I have at the studio that I'm recording at. I mean, it's one of the best in town. And that's one of the things I'm very proud of. I've had days where I was doing my pre-production in basically most studios have like a studio A and studio B, and a B is like the smaller room. So where they do pre-production. So I was doing pre-production going into the big room the next day. And in the big room, when I was doing pre-production was at that time, Jason Aldean in Alabama doing a version of Tennessee River. Just recording it right next door. And it was funny because I come to the vocal booth the next day and their lyric sheets are still there. And, those are the fun things and be like, hey, this is pretty cool that you're able to stand the same spot of those people.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, love your passion for sure. And I think in anything you do, that has to be the driving force behind it.
For sure.
So what kind of date are we looking at? What kind of drop are we looking at for the single?
Well, that's a good one because the drop should have been April 29th. But you know how it goes, paperwork and then this and that. So we were hoping for sometime this month, but I think it's going to be June. But I'm ready.
Sure.
So,
it's going out. It's going out.
Hey, let Mark reach out after this because let's talk about that release. I want to just make sure if you're going to be releasing it that you have like a marketing strategy behind it. Because here's the thing, like I see so many artists talk about the investment that they make to go to studio and get it, engineered properly and all of stuff, but then they don't like market it properly. So it's like they spend the time and energy and the resources to make a great product, but then when they put it out, they don't spend any resources or energy like pushing it out properly so that the most eyes, ears listening can get on it, right?
That's for sure. That's for
so
sure.
Anyway, and I know, and that's also the part that artists don't like because it's not the fun part. It's the business part. That's the hard part, right?
Most of us don't have the resources as well. And then if you have a little bit of resources, where do you put those resources,
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing. Yeah.
It's challenging
at that.
Yeah, it's what I do. But like anytime that I see artists, I just hate seeing missed opportunities because I believe that you can take a grassroots approach to a music release. I mean, I did it for my book. I do it for a lot of artists and whatnot. You don't have to spend 20 grand on marketing, I mean, you can take a grassroots approach and it may not have the biggest splash that, a high budget marketing release plan would have, but at least it's something. It's better than like crickets.
For sure. Yeah, that's not what we're trying to do. That's for sure.
Yeah. You're not looking for crickets?
No crickets. Mark, what have you learned along this journey about yourself? Like, what have you learned through all this?
That I'm pretty adventurous.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And I think we don't ever ask that question. And I think, it's like when you go through these journeys with all these twists and turns, because our paths are never really linear, and it's every day. Like, I feel like you think about like the people that cross your path, like you were just talking about being in that studio, with those people. The other day I went to a meeting and they had a Cowboys, an ex-Cowboy player. If you know, Ed Too Tall Jones was the speaker at the event. I had no idea who he was. My husband thought it was pretty cool because, football player. But, I think about this in our journey that we go through and the people, the paths that we cross with people and our experiences and all the things that we have to overcome and the pivots that we make. And I think it's so fun when you can really look back and say, like, what have I learned through this whole process about myself, and there's something powerful in that,
There definitely is. And because you don't think about that, you don't really, stand like, what have I learned? And how do I feel about myself? And I definitely know that I'm very adventurous and also that I like being by myself sometimes, have some quiet and just, let it be me. But I mean, it's also like you said earlier, that's what I loved about Nashville, especially in the beginning. You could meet anyone and walk into anybody. And right now, nobody really likes to go anywhere anymore downtown because there's so many people. You get overwhelmed. I mean, I've had days where I just saw Taylor Swift walking downtown shopping, and nobody was bothering her. And nowadays that wouldn't even be possible anymore, You meet a lot of cool people, especially there. I mean, I was backstage at the Grand Ole Opry talking to what's his name, Kevin Costner, and that's all pretty normal in Nashville, but it was more normal back then.
Sure. And I could certainly see the place where you come from that, sometimes you just want to be by yourself and, and I can get overstimulated on a very small scale with too many people. So, and we were just talking about this in a different episode, sometimes because you are your product, you're virtually your face of your product. And some days you just want to you guys are probably the same. I just want to shut it down. I turn the social media off. I don't even want anybody to contact me. Don't call me. I need that space. And then I go to bed and I regroup and then it's a new day again. So I can certainly respect that whole, that time that you need to have to.
Yeah, a little shut off from the world, and I always love to just put my headphones on and listen to some music and not be bothered by anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the more famous you get, the less that happens, I'm sure, right? The more you get known, and you're doing awesome stuff. So I have listened to some of his music, Brianna. It is good. I've listened to some of it.
Oh, I'm excited to check it out. And I'm excited to hear your new single.
I hope everybody is. I mean, it's a really great song. It's a very powerful song.
Great. It's great. I'm excited for you.
Talented. I love it.
Yeah, and congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
So you want to do some fun questions? Should we do some fun?
I think we should.
I'm all for fun.
You up for fun? Okay. Brianna, you want to start? I always let
Of course I want to start. Okay, Mark. In the whole wide world, since you're from the other side of the world, I would love to know your number one spot you'd want to travel to.
Oh, I want to travel to. Well, I've been fortunate enough to have traveled a lot already.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go back to Sydney, Australia.
Yes.
That was one of the places in the world.
Very cool.
I love that place.
My oldest daughter went to Sydney, Australia when she was very young. She was in bridging from elementary to middle school. And I'm sure they have this all over, but there was these groups where I forgot what it was called, but it was like these adults would take a group of kids, and we had to go through like all these meetings, parent meetings and stuff. And so they took a group of kids and they basically went on a trip. And so they went to Australia, and Sydney was one of their stops. And then they flew, I think, into Brisbane, and then they went into Sydney. And so they went to the Great Barrier Reef, and they did all this sightseeing and stuff. And it was so funny.
Okay.
Yeah. When my daughter came back.
Amazing. Great Barrier Reef. I mean, one of those things where I'm like, I was younger when I did all that. And now I'm seeing all these crazy shark movies, and I'm like, do I want to do that again? But it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah,
beautiful.
She had a great time there.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
All right, Mark, besides you being an amazing singer, any other singer that you just are like, I guess maybe a mentor, role model, somebody that you admire?
I mean, I admire a lot of people. I mean, but I mean, I'm not like these. For me, everybody's kind of, on the same level. It's not like anybody's, I don't really look up to anybody. But I mean, I loved Michael Hutchence from INXS, for example.
I have an album still from INXS.
Yeah, I mean, he had everything, he had the charisma, he was great on stage, great looks, great voice. I mean, he had it all. I mean, when it comes to country music, I think George Strait's amazing.
I have his album too.
So down to earth as well, and then there's people like James Taylor, Freddie Mercury, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like country music for me. It has, I love every music.
Well, three of those four that you mentioned, I have an album from each of them. So I have a Queen album, I have a George Strait album, and I have an INXS album still in my back.
Oh, there you go. Now you need a James Taylor one.
Yep, it's the only one I don't have.
Okay, what's your favorite food? Like favorite type of cuisine?
Chiniese, and I love the hibachi chicken stuff, and the Japanese steakhouse stuff. That's kind of my favorite stuff. A lot of rice and chicken.
Rice and chicken.
I like the Asian
flavors.
flair.
Love it.
We're at our lunchtime right now. I'm kind of hungry.
I know. I'm like, I might be running down the street when this is over.
Chinese food, all of that sounds really good, right? Hibachi, all of it sounds really good. All right, I'm going to ask you a fun one. I'm going to do this one on him, Brianna. Mark, if you could be any superhero or a character for a day, what would you pick?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I've had a lot of people because I had a lot of different looks over the years, and a lot of people have told me that I look like Thor. I've had that, but I don't really know anything about it, to be honest with you, because I never watched any of the movies. So
there's a lot of them.
I mean, all I really care about is that I'm my daughter's superhero. That's all I care about.
Hey, that's a good answer.
Oh, that's sweet.
How old is your daughter, by the way?
My daughters are right now 7 and 9.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That little one still. Brianna's
Mhm.
got some that are kind of, she's got elementary to middle or to high school, right,
Well,
Brianna?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, elementary to high school right now. Absolutely.
a lot of work.
Yeah, let's go. We're
Yeah,
in it. We're in it.
for sure.
Awesome. Well, this has been so amazing and so great to meet with you, Mark. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for coming on the show today. Can we tell our audience how they can follow you, how they can download, stream, share your music, consume your
yeah.
music? Like, just lay it on us.
Most of the places are just at Mark Blomsteel. And what's kind of an interesting thing, a lot of people misspell my name. Like Blomsteel seems to be hard for Americans. So people just say Bloomsteel, Bloomstell. It's always something else, but it's Blomsteel with one O. So at Mark Blomsteel, and on Facebook it's I think Mark Blomsteel Music. That's the only different one because I have a personal page as well. So,
Awesome.
but yeah,
Cool.
I'm everywhere: YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, all that good stuff.
Good stuff. Love it, Mark.
Awesome.
Yeah, go check his music out. Like I said, I've listened to some of it. It's good. I had to check him out when I first met him. So I had to go see who's this person. I need to go find out what he's got out there and what's his music and all that. So you have a
For
great
sure.
voice, Mark. Great voice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and do you have any shows coming up, Mark? Because I know you mentioned that you guys weren't doing, I know you say you're traveling soon, but
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like I said, I had to get my health back. I
yeah,
know I have a single release party at some point for when Tennessee comes out.
great.
That would be my first time back. But I already did a rehearsal with the band, and yeah, that went pretty well. So I'm glad
Good.
back to myself.
Taking that first step, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
mean,
bet that's going to feel really good to get back on that stage.
it's very scary when you know you're in a situation where it was. I mean, my lung doctor said it was a really really bad scan that he saw.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky to be where I'm at right now. I just had my birthday last week, and I was like, I'm just happy to be here still.
Absolutely,
happy
absolutely. Well,
for
we're happy for you.
We're going to be looking for this release to come out. So keep us posted so we can, follow up and then we can put something in our feed too to help you push it out.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
All right. So we want to say, of course, to our listeners, if you enjoy our show, please be sure you give us a rating both on iTunes and Facebook because we can't do this without you, and hit that subscribe button on YouTube.
And I've got, say that again.
That's an end of bell. I know that because my daughters do all this stuff all the time.
Yep.
Hit the bell, hit the like button.
We have it on our thing. I think Walt puts a little bell on our thing that
Yes.
hit the bell.
Hit the bell. All right.
On
That's
YouTube.
awesome. And I've got a parting thought for us all. Don't tell people about your dreams. Show them.
Bam.
There you go.
That was good. All right. And to live the extraordinary, you have to start, and every start begins with a decision. All right, you guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We will see you next time.